Welcome to today's segment on the unexpected journey, finding career satisfaction differently. My name is Isabelle Dallaire, and I am extremely happy to be part of today's event. I am a member of an Indigenous First Nation community called Malicita Vigé, located in Quebec province. I work as an HR advisor for Indigenous talent and career management at CERNAC and ISC, and I am also part of many projects, groups, and events like this one today that pushes me to try new stuff, get out of my comfort zone, and find satisfaction in different other areas that are not related to HR matters, which is my day-to-day job. Bonjour et bienvenue à la séance appelée Le voyage inattendu, trouvez votre satisfaction professionnelle aujourd'hui de manière alternative. Je m'appelle Isabelle Dallaire et je suis membre de la communauté autochtone Malicite de Vigé, située dans la province du Québec. Je travaille comme conseillère en ressources humaines dans l'équipe de talent et avancement de carrière des employés autochtones au sein de SAC et AirCan. Je fais également partie de plusieurs projets, regroupements ou événements comme celui d'aujourd'hui qui me permettent d'entreprendre de nouveaux projets, de me sortir de ma zone de confort et me faire toucher à d'autres domaines qui vont faire changement des RH dans le cadre de mon travail de tous les jours. I would like to begin by acknowledging that the land that I'm on, which right now and I'm joining you from, is the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. We are grateful to have the opportunity to be present in this territory, and I also would like you to sorry about this. I'm starting again. I will also ask you to acknowledge from which territory you are located from. Je voudrais commencer par reconnaître que le territoire sur lequel je me joins avec vous est le territoire traditionnel algonquin, non cédé algonquin, puisque je suis située à Gatineau, Ottawa, dans la région de la capitale nationale. I would like also for you to acknowledge, as I mentioned, and if you are not aware from which territory you are from, si c'était possible de consulter les liens suivants que Marcella a partagés avec vous. Donc, je vous recommande to click on it and to take a look from where you are from to acknowledge. As we move through today's session, please share your comments in the chat space and question by using the Q&As button in the language of your choice. You can vote for question you like by clicking on the thumbs up button. Au fur et à mesure que nous progresserons dans la session d'aujourd'hui, veuillez partager toutes vos questions en utilisant le bouton questions et réponses Q&A dans la langue de votre choix. Vous pouvez voter pour les questions que vous voulez poser en cliquant sur le bouton thumbs up, pouce en l'air. Today, we have three panelists that are joining us. Hi, everyone. I'm seeing nice smile there. Bonjour. I would like to warmly welcome Valeria Sosa, Innovation Analyst at NRCan, Susan Johnston, Lead on Partnerships and Engagement at TBS, et Kevin Lagacé, Manager with the Office of Indigenous Initiative at ESDC. Nos trois panélistes possèdent plusieurs années comme fonctionnaires et ont eu la chance de travailler dans différents postes au cours de leur carrière. Donc, ça leur permet aujourd'hui de pouvoir vous parler de leur satisfaction professionnelle et ce qu'ils ont fait pour s'y rendre. Ils vont partager avec nous leur histoire ainsi que leur parcours. So we now have a few minutes. So feel free, Kevin, Valeria, and Susan, to tell us more about yourself. I would like to know more about you guys. Qui aimerait commencer? Who would like to start first? Who's the lucky one? Kevin, I see you.
Sure, I would love to. Bonjour tout le monde. To begin, I'd like to acknowledge that the land from which I very happily join you from today is in Winnipeg on Treaty 1 territory, the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene people in the Red River Valley on the homeland of the Métis Nation. And I'm very grateful every time I have this opportunity to present in this territory. Currently, I'm in the role of manager of the Office of Indigenous Initiatives with ESDC, and it's my 21st year in the Government of Canada, and I've had the very great opportunity to work with three departments, with Agriculture, with Public Services and Procurement Canada, and ESDC, in a variety of roles, which we may talk a little bit about later today. And really, I am just thrilled to be here with Valérie, Suzanne, Isabelle, Marcella, thanks for the prep, and joining all of you today. So I'm really looking forward to a great session. Puis, je suis vraiment intéressé d'apprendre en même temps de partager n'importe quoi aujourd'hui. So, thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Kevin. On va passer à Valéria, s'il vous plaît.
Bonjour, hello everyone. So my experience, I spent a good chunk of my career also in Montreal working for small businesses. I have a background in fashion marketing, in psychology. I've worked in also in administration in the government and innovation and intelligence as well. So it's been quite a diversity, and I never expected to be in government. And I almost left at one point until I found the free agents. And that enabled me to sort of, take control of my own career within government. And and currently now I'm the manager on assignment at PCH, manager for the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Review. And we're working with the Innovation Lab on that. Merci.
I see Kevin giving you some thumbs up there. Merci, Valeria. We will pursue with Susan. Go ahead, Susan.
Oh, merci, Isabelle. Salut tout le monde. Today, I'm joining you from the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit because I'm visiting my parents and appreciating the flexibility of working in a few different places. Not unlike Kevin, I just celebrated a milestone in my federal government career, and my jaw is still dropping because I came into the public service to spend a year or so saving money for journalism school, and poof, here I am. I had spent some time working in infrastructure marketing before I joined the public service, and spent most of my early career working on international collaboration with regard to technology. Had quite a pivot and took some time off and hadn't been sure I was going to come back. Built a small business, did some community governance work, and learned a lot about dialogue, and really then came back and dug into public engagement and capacity building, supporting people to work, us as public servants together with one another, and then across jurisdictions and with people in working on all different types of things. And I'm finding I'm really happy about that because so many of the bigger challenges we face take collaboration in so many different ways. So yeah, that's me for now.
Thank you, Susan. I've noticed that some of you were thinking about leaving and coming back, or some of you did leave and did come back. So we might be coming back on this question because I'm wondering if youngest professional are thinking about this. So let's reflect on it. So today we're going to talk about different approaches to career satisfaction. As we mentioned, one approach is that it is essentially the sum of components, which is pay, hours, interests. And another approach that we're hearing more and more is that it's a mix of emotional responses to our work. So our panel will be discussing their own journey through these approaches. Alors aujourd'hui, nous allons parler de différentes façons et de différentes approches et facteurs qui expriment notre satisfaction professionnelle. Une des approches est que l'on peut être satisfait, par exemple, on va sélectionner son travail pour le salaire, les heures, les bénéfices, les intérêts qu'on a pour notre travail. Et puis, il y a une autre approche ici qui s'agit d'un mélange des réponses émotionnelles dans le cadre de notre travail. Par exemple, moi, travaillant auprès de Relations couronne autochtone et Affaires du Nord-Canada, c'est quelque chose qui, à l'intérieur de moi, je ressentais le besoin de devoir aller travailler pour ce ministère afin de pouvoir redonner au suivant. Donc, c'est vraiment ce qui est venu me chercher. C'est certain que le composant salaire, heures, bénéfices, intérêts, etc. est là aussi. Par contre, la réponse émotionnelle, dans mon cas, va être beaucoup plus présente et va me garder groundée et me donner envie de rester auprès de mon ministère pour pouvoir changer les choses. Donc, aujourd'hui, nos panélistes vont vous discuter de ce qu'ils ont choisi, ce qui les a dirigés vers la sélection de leur emploi, ce qui fait qu'ils sont satisfaits ou ont-ils réussi à trouver la satisfaction dans leur emploi, dans leur parcours et à travers ces approches-là. So before we begin with the panel, I'd like to ask you, dear attendees, how do you or what have you heard about the definition of your career satisfaction? Because it might mean something for Kevin, it might mean something for Valeria or Susan, and different for me. So there's also how many years you've been in the government. There's plenty of different things that might change your way of seeing the career satisfaction. So please share with us in the chat, and I would love to be sharing these with our panelists. And it might, younger, money and benefits. For some, it might be that. As I mentioned, the component, the sum of the component that might be for money, benefits, family conciliation, alignment of values and interests. If some of you have anything you wanted to add, panelists, Kevin, Valeria, Susan, let me know. Some might be talking to you also when we read that. Donc, avant de commencer la discussion, j'aimerais vous demander d'utiliser l'espace de discussion qui est mis à votre disposition, donc le chat, et puis de répondre à la question suivante. Comment est-ce que vous définissez pour vous la satisfaction professionnelle, ou sinon, comment est-ce que les gens peuvent définir autour de vous, si vous n'avez pas aucune idée, mais vous avez déjà discuté avec votre père, votre mère, cousin, cousine, des amis, la famille, comment eux voyaient la satisfaction professionnelle. De mon côté, je me souviens, ma mère me disait toujours, Isabelle, c'est important d'avoir un full-time job, you'll stay there forever, you won't change your job, and this is how it's going to be, you'll be good at it. And then I just arrived at my 32 years old and I'm like, is this what I really want? So it made me think about, while we were talking, should I go? Should I come back? I've been in the government for only 3 years for myself. So for me, in 10 years from now, I'll decide to go and have other experience so I can come back with these experience in my new job in the government. I'm not sure yet. So many questions can come from career satisfaction. Donc, I'm seeing also stability, feeling useful. I love this one. This is talking to me. As I mentioned to you, emotionally, stability, inspiring leadership. Absolutely. I joined because it was a good career, but never thought I'd stay. I totally understand why. Thanks for sharing. And I'm seeing here, I've only just started just under 3 months. Well, welcome with the government. How I've heard people define career satisfaction is flexibility, benefits, fair compensation, good work-life balance. Absolutely. Some of these are really important. Okay. Feel free to continue to share. Absolutely. Kevin is saying he loves seeing the response. Absolutely. I'm really happy to read that. Started with stability, but now I see that it's the best way for employment exploration. Totally. I love this because as an HR advisor, this is not my daily job, but I've been proposed to do these type of events, and this brings me career satisfaction. You know, I've been trying micro-mission, other stuff like that. So this is why I'm saying when we see employment exploration, I totally approve this one. There you go. Perfect. So we'll start with the question that we have for you, panelists. First one that I have for you, Susan, Valeria, how do you define career satisfaction? And have you or did you achieve career satisfaction? We'll continue after with Kevin. He'll be answering the question in French, just as you know, folks. So Valeria or Susan? Valeria will go first. Perfect. Sure. Go ahead.
I think this has sort of evolved throughout the years, definitely. I think working in the private sector, when I was in Montreal, working with small businesses, and this was something that was tough for me in transitioning, you get placed where they need you because they don't want to lose resources. They have, they want their company to succeed. They want to see people in the right places at the right time to make everything succeed, the organization succeed. Coming into the public service, it was very different because I didn't have that opportunity. People didn't necessarily care where you were sitting as long as you were in the box that you needed to sort of fit. So through the years, it's definitely evolved, and I've been able to describe it and define it now a little bit better. And in preparation for this, I think I've narrowed it down to about 5 things. 1, I need the work to be challenging and stimulating, and I enjoy making sense out of chaos. That's my fun. That's what I really love to do at work. I like making use of the skills that I want to bring, that I feel that make me feel useful. Because at the beginning, I was appreciated for skills that I didn't care about. People, they used them, and, you know, I was able to succeed in certain ways, but they weren't the skills that I valued and that I wanted to put forth. So that's very important for me. Having something meaningful, something that I'm passionate about in terms of an issue is also important. A big consideration for me is, what is this providing in terms of opportunity for career development, or is it stagnation? So I always kind of look at that. Where is this going to lead me to? And an interesting question that I've found myself asking, or I've realized it in retrospect, is, does it feel like I'm meant to be here right now, in the here and now? Some of the jobs, that was almost what was, you know, there's the different ways to satisfaction, but it's like, there's a sense of, I needed to be here right now to do what I needed to do, whether it was with colleagues or the work itself, or for myself for growth, but there's a sense of purpose in the moment.
Absolutely. Susan, would you like to add something on these?
Oh, merci, Isabelle. It's interesting. I would echo Val in saying that my approach changed over time. I came into government caring very deeply about a couple of particular issues. So in my case, freedom of expression and the technology that supports it, but also international affairs. I had studied it. And I had a few sort of partially related jobs at the beginning. And then I stumbled into a role where I got to work on that. And my colleague at the time had talked about success for her being great, like meaningful projects, amazing colleagues, and great leadership. And that, you know, you'd landed well if you could get 2 of those 3. Well, I had 3 of 3. And so it was magical. And it was a great fit. And I did the same job for 7 years. And it was really, but there came a point where I realized I need to do something different. And I had no clue what it was. And I did some exploring, and I made a very instinctual jump to try something new. And I would say I tried something that ultimately I learned a ton from. It was very instructive for my life, and it was not the best fit. And that was hard. And through that process of hard, I ended up having to go and do something very similar to what Val just talked about and say, okay, Susan, what do you care about? And fortunately, like, there's tons of books on the market. The internet is full of good resources for think about your professional values. And where I landed were the things I need to be doing. I need to be learning all the time. I need to be supporting community, be it geographic or a community of interest. And I need to be in a situation where I can exercise creativity. Sometimes that means artistic, but very often it means systems thinking or different kinds of collaboration. And I had left a good private sector job to go back to school, to do a master's, to deliberately work on, let's say, a more social bottom line. So, and if for me now, I paint myself a triangle with the creativity, community, and learning, and service in the middle. And I find each time I anchor on that, it tends to lead me to places I want to go. Although I will say I'm feeling the shift starting again. So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen with that, but I'll stop there for now. Merci, Isabelle.
De rien, excellent. Absolument, c'est important de s'ancrer dans quelque chose et puis de se poser les bonnes questions. It's really important to ask yourself the right question for career satisfaction. Donc, pour qu'on poursuive au niveau du français, Kevin va répondre à la question. Donc, la question était comment définissez-vous la satisfaction professionnelle? Avez-vous déjà reconnu ou avoir déjà atteint la satisfaction professionnelle de votre côté, Kevin?
Et merci pour la question. Puis aussi, comme Suzanne puis Valérie, qu'est-ce que vous avez bien partagé? Ce sont donc des valeurs et des esprits que moi-même sont vraiment communs. Mais juste pour répondre à la question comme telle, est-ce que j'ai rendu à une satisfaction professionnelle, je dirais beaucoup de fois, pas juste une fois comme telle, comme spoiler alert. Avant de partager un peu plus, mes réponses seront un peu différentes aujourd'hui de ce qu'elles étaient il y a comme 2 mois, 2 ans. Et aussi, sachez que les réponses que je vais partager aujourd'hui seront probablement un peu différentes dans le futur. Mais aujourd'hui, c'est ça, mes valeurs que j'aimerais juste partager un peu, qui contribuent vraiment à ma satisfaction professionnelle. D'abord, être capable de demander et de comprendre le pourquoi, comme nous faisons quelque chose qui est très important pour le monde, même comme Simon Sinek, puis d'autres vont dire comme understand the why. Aussitôt que moi, je comprends le why de ce qu'on fait, ça m'aide beaucoup à vraiment digérer et soit capable de sentir une émotion, comme on a eu Isabelle partagé un peu d'en avance. Moi aussi, je sens très bien avec un service vers la clientèle. D'abord, moi, j'adore servir les clients, nos communautés, les Autochtones, toutes les communautés, puis notre pays, comme en effet, tout le pays. J'apprécie vraiment comme en français, je chante camaraderie, comme les relations de travail avec les équipes dont je fais partie, puis aussi avec les partenaires à l'interne puis à l'externe. Je trouve ça comme fameux, puis ça me donne un niveau de joie accéléré. J'apprécie beaucoup également la relation entre moi-même. Et ça, c'est où j'aimerais juste partager un peu plus, c'est que avec chaque emploi, puis chaque équipe, et même n'importe quoi je le fais, je trouve que je prends cette occasion de vraiment apprendre et agrandir et comme être chaque fois un peu plus coachable, si on pourrait dire ça, comme lifelong learner à chaque fois. Moi, j'aime maintenant, après 21 ans, même si en commençant, j'avais comme des expériences ou des compétences, des habiletés comme telles, j'adore avoir l'occasion de vraiment redonner en tant que mentor ou coach, aider les autres. D'abord, si on demande, comme juste en conclure, s'il s'agit du bien-être au travail, en étant un des indicateurs, ça c'est probablement ma 5e ou 6e, mais c'est probablement celui qui est le plus important, c'est d'être sûr. En anglais, j'ai entendu la terminologie work-life balance. Moi, je préfère work-life wellness. En fait, si dépendant de ma vie personnelle et avec de nombreux changements qu'il y a eu au cours des 21 années que j'ai travaillé avec le gouvernement du Canada, il y avait eu beaucoup de changements. D'abord, à l'an 2000, en commençant avec l'Infoservice national, en répondant au téléphone comme tel, je viens juste d'être marié, il n'y avait aucun enfant, je pouvais travailler de lundi au vendredi, aucun problème. S'il voulait que je travaille un peu plus de temps d'overtime comme tel. Mais après 5 ans, 6 ans, on va dire une introduction à 2 enfants. D'abord, mes demandes ont changé un peu. D'abord, je voulais plus avoir un emploi avec tellement de voyages, avec tellement de temps d'overtime comme tel. Et je voulais encore donner un service à les clients aider quelqu'un comme qui a de la valeur, qui apprend, qui grandisse, mais en même temps, je voulais être sûr que le work-life wellness était bien équilibré. So, c'est juste comme une introduction, d'abord comme en bref, oui, absolument, je l'ai trouvé. Puis il y a des instances dans ma carrière où j'en ai trouvé plus, que je vais partager un peu plus davantage pendant nos 30 minutes qui s'en viennent. Et après ça, on peut juste continuer la conversation n'importe quand. Mais ça sera ma réponse. Et merci.
Merci, Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. Kevin quickly was just mentioning that his answers today won't be the same in the future, or was not the same in the past. So there will be an evaluation. Just keep that in mind. Merci beaucoup, Kevin, d'avoir partagé. Prochaine question pour Susan. What were the elements, factors that help you get there with that career satisfaction?
I think the biggest one in retrospect was naming the values and what I wanted, and recognizing that I was going to go try something. And at each point earlier on, when I would go and try, say, going back to graduate school or taking on a new role, I was fairly convinced that it had to work. And so was quite disappointed sometimes when it didn't go the way I wanted to. And I think stepping back from that and setting an intention and deciding I wanted to go explore something or learn about something or be in a different kind of environment and go try it, and to recognize and name the thing that I wanted to get out of it helped a lot. So yeah, I think being intentional about it and being curious and giving myself room to say what I think I'm coming for and what I'm going to learn might be very different. And once I would realize that I would learn and I would gain skills or knowledge or opportunities that I was maybe anticipating, and even more that I wasn't, I learned to look forward to the surprises on the ride. So I'll stop there now.
Intéressant. Does Valeria or Kevin would like to add a quick something about this? An element that might be important or that we should think about? We might be able to come back to another question. Valeria, do you have something?
Yeah, I would say not giving up to a certain extent. Like that's what kind of helps you. Like there's moments where you're not always 100% content with what you're doing, and it depends at some point. Sometimes you're doing stuff for a paycheck, but you can find, there's always room for someone who's willing to do stuff for free. So it depends on how inspired or motivated you are to fill that other bucket in the meantime. And then eventually they might align. You know what I mean? The thing that's motivating you and keeping you alive and sparking your flames, and the stuff that's keeping your bank account and your bills paid eventually collide if you're putting the effort in.
Absolutely. Kevin, go ahead.
For sure, I would like to get on that piece too, because exactly what Susan and Valerie is saying. Sometimes it's inevitable. It is going to collide at one point. And those, I'm not saying they're special and unique as in they're only once in a lifetime. That's very dramatic, very what you might see on the TV. It can happen many times. And I think, like Christy had mentioned in the chats, I'm reading about stability, and Marcella sharing, right? Making a difference. Those are all big. Sometimes you do need to pay the bills, and it's important to be able to have that stability. Right. And I've heard colleagues over the years at times use the terminology, a choice or circumstance, and I have to make this for now. I'll debate it a bit. Their reality, I agree with. They're staying there for that reason. But my suggestion would be, if the job that you're in or the role that you're fulfilling now, you aren't seeing that passion zinc right in, and you're like, every day I can't sink it. There's two things I'll share. One would be, you could always look outside. And I'm not saying outside of department or government, but look, maybe volunteer. Maybe there's a network. There's somewhere that you might be able to use those skills. Comme c'est vraiment possible d'en faire ça. But the other side of it too, if you don't want to reach out or go into networks is, and this is an exercise, and I'm going to say it and be in it this way. I knew someone once who wasn't very happy and satisfied in the role they were in. And they went and they asked somebody, and they asked somebody's, they said, hey, in the job that you're in, what do you like about your job? Where's your passion? What is it that you really find that sparks you with this? Asked a few people. By hearing their stories and by finding out, even though their jobs may have been different, at this time, the person asking was in the call center, and their jobs may have been in pay, and another one was serving program delivery, and one was in staffing, like HR, totally different jobs, roles. When they got that there, they started noticing something. And what they noticed was that they were a little bit easier finding the passion in the job they were doing, because sometimes maybe it's the leadership, as I was hearing before, like what Jen McDougall in the chat was saying, having that inspiring leader may not be as inspiring. They're just not at that level yet, right? Sometimes we're blessed and we have one that is. But when you hear from others, you start digging in. And then what you've done, and this is kind of for me at least, the zing would be, you've asked somebody else about their role. They've shared it. They've now given you and shared some of that energy and that passion that you get a chance to take with you. And when you're may not feeling as elevated or positive as you are, by asking somebody, you're actually doing a service to them. You're actually showing you care. I see you. I'm listening to you. And you're going to be now, you've built a relationship there. They're going with extra spark. You are now leaving with a bit more fulfillment, because you've actually going, what can I do in my day? You've actually done something. You've lifted somebody who in their role or on their team are now going to give an even better, if I can say, different version of themselves, because someone asked them. And then maybe you can walk away with a little bit of that and do that too. So I think there's different ways to find it. And those are a couple of ways that kind of come to mind.
Thank you for adding this, Kevin. It brings me to a question where, did it happen to you once that you felt like you were stuck in a job, and how did you get unstuck? How do you get out of that feeling where you feel like you're stuck there and you can't move? Because you're saying do some volunteering or stuff, but when you're not finding these, satisfaction, but you want to focus on your job and you can't get out of this. That someone would like to add? Do you remember a time you were stuck?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
When I came into government, I got stuck in the administrative stream, and I liked the operational aspect of it, but it wasn't necessarily where I wanted to be, or utilizing the skills that I wanted. And I ended up working at PCO with the Afghan task force, which I loved, absolutely adored. But again, it was very operational and administrative. And then I moved over and was working at PCO with the National Security Advisor's Office. Again, but knowing, and these were great areas, like it was what an opportunity, everything that I was seeing, everything that I was participating in. And I had to, number one, you have to humble yourself, because this is pretty big work, and this is, I'm this in comparison to the work that needs to be done. So I had my role and my purpose, but I knew that if I wanted to find something that actually used the skills that I wanted to share, I needed to get out. So I made in my moment, there's two things. One, I volunteered with other organizations or with other networks to provide my other skills. But what I did to get out of the department, knowing that at PCO I was never going to sort of get into a different stream necessarily, I moved over with an associate DM as his EA over to NRCan, which is where I sort of landed for a while. And I told him I was giving him 1 year as his EA, and then I needed to move on. So I made that commitment, I made that sacrifice, and I knew for that period of time, these are the skills that I'm using. These are what I'm valued for. but I'm going to continue developing other stuff. And then when that year's over, it's me. It's about me, and I got to do something for me. And I did, and it helped. Mm-hmm.
Giving yourself a timeline is a good way. I also see in the chat, Emily has an answer back saying, contact every single person you know and cold email teams that align with your interest. Good point. Check if your department has a career services, exactly, or recruitment that you might have, also group, workforce group that you have maybe in your department. Would you like to add something, Kevin or Susan, about this?
You know what?
Go ahead.
There's many instances, mais je pourrais probablement en français
Oui.
juste dire comme pour moi, comme j'ai regardé en arrière il y a 30 ans à toutes mes aspirations professionnelles et pour une devinette, vous pouvez savoir que bien, moi, je voulais être professeur d'éducation physique dans le système scolaire. Après quelques années, j'ai fini par trouver un emploi chez Viarail, Canada, avec le train. Et je parcourais tout le pays avec des équipes de 21, 5 jours consécutifs par voyage. Et je suis tombé comme amoureux avec cet emploi pour de nombreuses raisons. J'ai bien vécu, comme il y avait des gros moments dans ma vie, et tout en allant sur les rails. Les étés étaient des périodes où je travaillais beaucoup d'heures de travail, et en travaillant avec du monde différent, juste pour comme vraiment produire comme un service à la clientèle. Mais pendant les hivers, ça c'était le temps où j'avais les périodes où il n'y avait plus de voyage, et j'avais l'essence j'ai pris des études qui m'intéressaient. J'ai investi dans du bien-être et j'ai utilisé ce temps pour connecter avec des amis, ma famille, et vraiment comme de bricoler avec la technologie, car comme j'adore la technologie dès le Commodore 64 dans les 190. Alors, les années ont passé, et je me suis rendu compte que je voulais comme établir comme un home base à Winnipeg. Alors, je cherchais un emploi qui pourrait servir cela pour moi. D'abord, dans l'an 2000, il y avait le Y2K. J'ai postulé et j'ai gagné une poste avec le gouvernement fédéral au bureau de DSC, à l'Infoservice national. Et en effet, cet emploi il était comme une combinaison de presque toutes les expériences que j'avais eues, car il y avait le service à la clientèle, il n'y avait aucun voyage, parce que je travaillais avec la technologie. Puis, ça, c'est quelque chose que j'adorais. C'était incroyable, comme on a entendu Suzanne a dit auparavant, comme au-dessus de 7 ans. J'ai travaillé dans cet emploi pour 7 ans consécutifs, mais j'ai commencé à répondre à les téléphones. Puis, les 5 dernières années, j'étais comme un chef d'équipe. D'abord, j'avais autant un rôle de leadership. Je voulais avoir comme une plus grosse occasion d'avoir du influence, grandir et créer comme des environnements pas juste positifs, mais plus raisonnables ou même plus productifs où le monde sentait comme une valeur. Mais j'avais un défi pour rentrer dans un poste de gestionnaire. On avait à ce temps-là avoir un degré de IT et être CS. Et moi, j'ai arrêté mes études après 2 années d'éducation physique. D'abord, j'avais une décision à faire. J'ai postulé pour un poste PM5 gestionnaire dans la région. Je n'ai pas eu le succès. Je n'ai pas gagné place dans le bassin. Mais ce qui était vraiment intéressant, c'est que j'avais une entrevue avec les 3 qui m'ont passé l'entrevue comme un post-sport. Puis eux autres m'ont dit, « Hey, tu as bien démontré les compétences, mais vous n'avez pas assez de connaissances des programmes. Et on a vraiment besoin de quelqu'un qui peut comme répondre à ces types de questions. Si vous voulez, vous pouvez avoir peut-être un emploi avec nous autres dans le futur, mais le défi était, les seuls postes qu'il y avait, c'était des postes de PM3. et ça, c'était des postes qui, à ce temps-là, ça serait comme un demotion.
Dans le fond, c'est bien de faire un petit compromis pour pouvoir éventuellement évoluer puis obtenir un poste de leadership éventuellement. Donc, de faire le pas d'en arrière, disant, OK, j'essaye le PM3, par exemple, dans ton cas, Kevin, pour devenir PM5 éventuellement.
Absolument. Like in a real cool note, it's a dance.
Yeah.
And some of the most awesome opportunities have been lateral, or in this case, as I mentioned, have been actually going down a step to get the knowledge, experience, people, and all that really juicy good stuff.
Absolument. Merci beaucoup, Kevin, d'avoir partagé cette partie-là. Je vois qu'on a des questions in the chat. There's many questions in the chat. So if you're okay with panelists, I'll ask the question that we have in the chat to make sure we can answer these. And we'll keep the answer a little shorter because I want to make sure we answer all of these. Okay, guys? Perfect. So first one I have for you. How do I find opportunities to advance my career when there are not that many opportunities in my department? What would you recommend for this one? Go ahead, Susan.
See if I can unmute here. I think Val and Kevin have mentioned this in different ways, but the first place I would recommend are in networks within the department or across government. Because sometimes either the fastest way to opportunities or the best way to the most unique opportunities doesn't come from looking for postings or looking for explicit opportunities. It comes from finding and naming things that you care about, that you like, getting involved in those, demonstrating the skills where you want to shine, because like Val said, sometimes we're often valued for one set of skills and yet want to focus our work in another area. So demonstrating that, letting people know what you really care about and working towards it. So I would,
le bouche à oreille peut aussi être une bonne façon, donc de créer des contacts à l'interne et puis à l'externe aussi également, ça peut être possible. Donc, je pense que c'est une bonne façon de faire des opportunités de pouvoir avancer là, dans notre carrière. Une autre question que j'ai ici, la deuxième question plus populaire, the second question most popular that I have here on the chat. My dream job is in an area that requires bilingualism, but currently I am located in an English essential role. Do you have recommendation on gaining these language skills? This is a great question. Would you like to go, Susan?
Oui, je prendrai cette question. J'ai assisté les cours de français quand j'étais dans l'école et c'est toujours une question, comment devenir bilingue? So French is not my second language. I have two others first. I got those by dating. That's not an option available for me now as I improve my French. So I'm working very hard with Duolingo, with Netflix in French, and honestly, just trying to spend as much time as I can chatting with my French colleagues. It's I keep a spreadsheet. I track minute by minute how much time I'm putting in. That got me two other languages before I got French. It works. It's hard. And I think attitude gets you a long way. And attitude builds skills, and attitude helps demonstrate to the people around you how serious you are about it. And it sometimes it means playing the long game. It doesn't mean you get courses or full-time training right away. I hate full-time language school, like I can't do it. Frankly, I also took vacation and spent time in Quebec and in France. If that's feasible for people, it's so worth it. So I think just minute by minute, keep building. I'll stop there.
Absolutely. And also taking a chance today to do this type of events for me, as you all notice, I have an accent, I am Francophone, but you know what? I tried. I gave myself a chance, which is the advice that I would give you. Also, next question. Oh, Kevin, go ahead. Sorry
I was
about
just
this.
going to add a piece as well. As you can see, I think all these suggestions that you've given, like Susan, everybody who's trying, give yourself the best chance, as you mentioned.
Yep.
Put yourself out there. Same, my language has gone different ways, different levels. It is almost like any skill. I'm an avid runner, but whether it's playing the piano or whatever you do, the more you practice, the more they get better. But if you're starting from a base, these tips that I'm seeing in the chat are great. Netflix is great. But also knowing that you can reach out to people, and the Canada School of Public Service has some great offerings. And I know in ESDC in our department and in other departments, there's people are investing a lot in that. And I've even seen some MS Teams backgrounds that have said, you know, I'm practicing English or I'm practicing French. Feel free to use them. And then when you reach out to someone, go for it. And you know what? The biggest barrier at times sometimes is our own belief. But the fact that you've actually wanted to try to learn another language, like, are you kidding? You already learned one. You want to learn another and even go with it? Go for it. And the job that's a dream job, my only addition to that would be ask that hiring manager how imperative it is. Sometimes they can give up to a year, well, for sure, 4 months less a day with the Public Service Modernization Act, right, and staffing. Sometimes you can put somebody who is unilingual in that position, and you might get a bit of a sample, a taste test, and see if that job is really your dream job too. Because if you're only going for the one job and you went and you acquire that language and you get into it and you go, oh, I did all this for this, maybe that'll help you see if it's a good fit too.
Thank you, Kevin. I'll continue with the next question that I have here. Still going on the question. It's really popular. Thank you, everyone. I hope we'll have the time. I'm seeing the time. It's 2:18 and we'll be ending around 2:30. But feel free again, if you want to chat again with Kevin, Susan, or Valeria, just let them know and connect with them on LinkedIn, or we have shared with you in the chat. So feel free again. Or they might share their email address if they're comfortable sharing it with you guys. So next question that I have right here, when in your career should you be thinking about satisfaction?
Life's too short every day.
Exactly.
Truly.
I agree with this one. How do you best leverage pools you've qualified in to get to your next opportunity?
30 seconds, I would say for sure on this piece here is I'd reach out to the folks that in the departments and the pools you've qualified in, dans les bassins. Double check the competencies that you so demonstrated and to what level. And then you can use that in anything that you're applying on. I feel you could probably bring those in. You can add that you're in a qualified pool, but keep in mind too, you're growing every day. You're learning every day. What you showed and demonstrated in that pool could have been 9 months. You may have grown a lot since then too. So give yourself some credit.
Absolutely.
Use that and find other roles maybe where that pool's filling a certain type of job, and then see if those jobs have similar types jobs, and it could be across departments. It could be with the provinces. It could be civic, like open the doors, because if you're qualifying and demonstrating those skills, and as we heard earlier today, sometimes you're showing a skill that you do really well, but you don't really want to live in that all day. Then make yourself a choice, something you want to shine or something you want to grow with, and kind of ask people in the jobs there. But that's one way to leverage it.
Absolutely. Yes, go ahead, Valeria.
I'll just add quickly, also share that information with your network. Once you've qualified, send the interest, the information, everything to as many people in your network and let them know. And, you know, it's going to snowball the sharing of your status.
Absolutely. Next question for you. How do you avoid getting trapped in the public service? This can happen when people develop skills that are largely only relevant to the public service and not very marketable in the private sector. Susan, I see you.
I'm going to take this one.
Yes.
And I think part of it is So test your skills, figure out there are a number of credentials and certifications, and I'm thinking here project management, change management, linguistic skills, human resources credentials that are very valid both inside and outside. I worried quite a lot in my early career about whether my skills had, whether my knowledge, my skills, my expertise had any value in the private sector, because they're not the same. And I had that assumption until I took a longer parental leave with my second child and I started a business with a friend. And I had a wonderful time. We still collaborate on things. It's a micro business, so we ran it for 6 years and we had to do all the things. And so I think it loops back. If you're not sure if your skills float on the open market, go test that. Go find out. And if you think you may have a desire to be elsewhere other than in the public service, go somewhere for a while. You can quit and return. It's possible. There are lots of cases of it. It takes some administrative jumping, but if you're ready for that, you're ready for that. Go try, or go get yourself a certification, or go get yourself a side hustle. And
there's also opportunity within the probably your department, for example, interchange that you can subscribe to and go work for an organization for a year and then come back, or maybe take a 1 year off and then come back. So there's always opportunity for you not to quit forever, if that might give you anxiety. For example, it does give anxiety for me, but I know there is opportunity for me to do those things, and then that I'm not gone forever, For some people, it might be something that you feel secure. Next question for you guys. Well, to add it, same person said for the question we just answered, to add on the above, what roles in the public service are best suited for developing marketable private sector skills? Houses prices are insane here, and I think I need to leave Canada to afford anything, so I need the career skills to market myself. Does someone would like to add anything on this? But I totally agree for the houses. Been looking for one. That's hard. Perfect. So we can continue. Kevin, would you like to add something? I see your mic is on.
It's almost like a Family Feud, and I want to hit the button to provide, but you know what? Maybe it'll get something percolating or an idea with someone else. But I want to say, when I read the word trapped in the public service, it has to me, it has a different kind of vibe and a connotation. I think we're very privileged to be here. But that being said, I respect the feeling of being trapped. So thanks, Ian, for putting it that way. When there's no options and doors aren't opening, I can see how that's a reality. So I can't talk about the house prices or anything like that. But what I can suggest, and building a little bit on what Susan was saying, there's areas like GC Collab, GC Connects, and other areas there too. But the Collab is one that's open to the city. It's open to scholars. It's people by invite. And sometimes by putting your skills in there and say that you're searching, you might see opportunities outside of the public service come. Now, that being said, we want to keep you in the public service. Out of these 250,000 opportunities and jobs, find one that maybe is even a better fit for you at this time. And with the skills you have and talents, that maybe this is an opportunity for you, like I said, to talk to your networks, keep developing their skills. They're all useful. And really, they're going to carry in the private sector wherever you go, whatever you're doing here, working with others, teamwork, being action-oriented, all these things you do that are even just generic competencies that carry over. But I'll put in the chat a site called Badger. And what this is I've been working with the Office of Indigenous Initiatives to break barriers. It's one of the most greatest jobs I've had yet, because we're helping Inuit, First Nations, and Métis who just have grade 12 get into the government of Canada. And we help them get an accreditation so they can continue their career in the IT sphere. Now, why I share this is because the Talent Cloud and our folks at Treasury Board Secretariat are working a lot right now with micro-credentials and digital badging. And long story short, the skills that we're using today, I fast forward maybe a year or two from now, we're going to see our roles defined and the skills demonstrated, and there'll probably be something created that will demonstrate that, hey, you're using these skills today and you're in policy analysis. But you might realize it might promote and say, did you know maybe a job in parks, maybe a job with the RCMP? It'll show how those credentials carry. So long story short, please keep the hope. Reach out to me anytime. I know it's frustrating, but those skills are all marketable. Stick around. It's a great place to be.
Thank you, Kevin. Susan is adding to this, find what brings you joy, build related credential, pursue them from all angles. Absolutely. And I know that I think Marcella has shared with us some GC Collab groups that we were talking about earlier. Thank you. We have 3 minutes left, so one last question for you, or if we have time, maybe two. There you go. Often the things that give me satisfaction are on the corner of my desk. How can I make more time for them? I love this. Valeria, go ahead.
That speaks to my messages from before. Definitely follow those passions. How do you find more time for them? Eventually, so currently I'm working in EDI review. This is something that our department is probably one of the first departments that actually put dedicated resources to it. And there's a lot of people working on the side of their desk doing these things. So kind of depends on your context, kind of depends on your senior management, kind of depends on a couple of things. But that said, there's an appetite now, and I believe in the near future, for a lot of these side of desk initiatives to actually get more traction and dedicated resources. So I think you're at a good point in time to try and follow where you're putting your efforts. And if you demonstrate that you've made progress and you have a path forward for that project, you might be able to get the resources or some support in terms of that. So yeah, don't give up.
Excellent. Would you like to add something, Susan? I know your hand was raised.
Oh, sure. I'll just build on what Val said. So if you've never pitched a project before, Google some pitching skills, or you can take little 1-hour pitching workshops on various online learning sites. Figure out how to make a proposal, to shop it around, and so that you've thought it through what it would take to turn your side of desk thing into something more full. And I'll echo it. It's Val's right. There's lots of good appetite for different kinds of work. So it's just a matter of framing it as a project and figuring out who to shop it to. And if by this point you've joined your horizontal networks, you've connected with people, you'll be getting a sense of where that appetite is.
Thank you, Susan. So the event is already almost done. It went so fast. I didn't have time to make you answer all the questions, but I want everyone to know that if they do have questions they would like to answer, to ask to you directly, si vous avez des questions à envoyer à nos panélistes directement, ne soyez pas gênés, au contraire, prenez le temps de leur écrire. Vous voyez l'ouverture d'esprit ici, ils sont super contents de pouvoir vous répondre à vos questions. Donc, si vous avez, you would like to pursue the discussion, I'm sure it'll be more than happy to answer all your questions, so feel free. Also, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for taking the time, and be sure to sign up to the next event that is connecting to our coworkers and why it matters. Really important présentement avec la pandémie. Donc, assurez-vous de vous inscrire au prochain événement, la connexion avec nos collègues et pourquoi elle est importante. Le lien est dans le chat. Thank you everyone again, and have a nice and lovely day. Je vous souhaite une excellente journée. Merci tout le monde.